Welcome back to the Charismatic Voice, everyone. I know this is a bit of a different environment than you usually see me in. That's because I'm also making a different type of video. This is going to be a debrief of a voice science conference that I just attended. I'm going to be talking about the reception of our workshop, and then I'm also going to talk about some of the other scientific presentations that were given, and then I'm going to give some large takeaways. So if you are into voice science and learning about how the voice functions from all aspects, stay put. I think this is really exciting stuff. But if you've just been on this channel to listen to your favorite music and have an emotional connection to that reaction, this might not be the video for you unless you would really love to understand how your favorite singer's voice works better. The conference I was just at is called the Voice Foundation Symposium. It was in Philadelphia at the end of May 2026. It was put together by Ian Donalfo and Philip Doucette and a whole bunch of other people coordinating tons. So it was packed. Like, we're talking, it would start sometimes at 7 a.m. and go till 9:30 p.m. Wow, I don't think I've ever been to a conference that is as packed as this one. And while that means I can't attend absolutely everything, it's actually amazing because it's like, it lets everybody learn and go to the sessions that they think are the most applicable to their part of the field. It is also interdisciplinary. So you have both vocal pedagogy, like for singers, you also have speech language pathology as a focus, and medicine for people that are doing things like surgery or looking into other kinds of treatments for various maladies. So it was a really interesting array of people coming together, and I think it's very useful to have that approach of interdisciplinary because we can learn so much by talking to other people in the field. Our workshop was 50 minutes long, which is awesome. That allows us to dive much more deeply into a topic. And it was about distortion. Specifically, Dr. Amanda Stark and myself were coming at it from distortions used in extreme metal vocals, like the vocalists we've been studying recently. We also were joined by Getty Warner and Sarah Curvin. Sarah is a speech language pathologist and Getty is a vocal coach. And also, I believe he's been studying especially ventricular fold phonation and this whole area of really. And so we joined forces and discussed distortion, how it's used in singers, but also how in some cases it's starting to be applied in a clinical setting. It was really interesting. Getty tackled the ventricular fold phonation after an overview, actually first, and then Sarah tackled some of the middle constriction. We really divided up our areas by levels of constriction, which is not dissimilar to the complete vocal technique, if you're familiar with that in Europe. We did break it down into a few less levels just for ease of understanding. But I actually really like the level idea that complete vocal technique uses. We just wanted to apply it to metal and to really, really extreme sustained noises. So anyhow, Sarah was tackling sort of a middle level where you have more of the epiglottis and the arytenoids hanging out, aryepiglottic folds as well. Sometimes we'll call this a fry screen in some of the research we've been doing. But we've been trying to stay away from too many terms because people are using them in a lot of different ways that don't necessarily correlate. And then I took the last level, the highest level, the ones most squished throughout the vocal tract, where it's super, super, super squeezed like a black hole in your throat. And this we've seen with a tea kettle scream, whistle scream. And we taught all of these sounds to a room that was packed. People were standing all around. People that were trying to come in the door late couldn't really get in. I guess there was maybe like 2 spots of standing room if people squished more. It was really, really packed. And I love that everyone, I believe, left being able to create a new sound. We really wanted to encourage a certain fearlessness in approaching the sounds and trying them out. The room was so loud and cacophonous. I loved that. And you could tell that people were just so excited and enthusiastic. And I was really appreciative. Matthias Echternach is somebody I've read research by for quite some time and has done a little research in this area as well. He was in the room. Even when I presented, I quoted one of his studies about position for whistle register. And I remember as he was leaving, the look on his face was so excited and beaming. You could tell that our workshop got him excited. So I was really, really happy about that. There were so many of my colleagues there though, and people I didn't know. In a packed room, they were all excited about distortion and in many of the cases, excited about heavy metal. So that was really, really, really cool. It was amazing how well received it was. And overall, it started so many conversations at the conference. There were also other presentations about distortion and some of these rougher techniques, as some people will call them. And with the exception of one person, all I heard was positivity. I won't call the one person out, but they did sort of like lose it at one of my colleagues and said, you know, you're ruining your career and you're ruining people's voices. And I think everyone responded to that with, wow, you're kind of out of touch. You know, there wasn't any confrontation from our side, but just a quiet resignation of, okay, yeah, even though we are forging this path, we still need to get the word out to people so that they don't have this stigma about harsh vocals. And so overall, incredible enthusiasm, but we still need to make sure that people around us know more and know better, know that these sounds can be made in a healthy way. But they're not always made in a healthy way, so we still need to study them more. I want to talk now about some of the other presentations that I saw that I found extremely exciting. And we're going to start with one from Susan Thibault. I'm just going to give some highlights of these presentations, okay? Susan Thibault is at the forefront of vocal fold biology. She's an incredible force within voice science. She's essentially defined this niche. She has a huge lab that's like documenting every single type of cell in your vocal fold. It's insane what she's able to do. One of the things I found fascinating in her talk, I'm actually gonna talk about two things. She discussed the microbiome of your larynx. Your larynx has a microbiome, just like your gut has a microbiome. I was fascinated by this idea that you could take cells from your gut microbiome and you could put them in your larynx. And you think, well, they'd still be gut microbiome cells. And the answer is no. They actually can't still be gut microbiome cells. They shift enough that if you transplant them to your larynx, they will change to become laryngeal microbiome cells. And she talked more about how the larynx is such a unique place in your body. That's part of the reason why it's difficult to do research on those cells. And I found that just fascinating. She talked about so many other things that are totally mind-boggling, but that was one that I kind of giggled about. One of the other things that Susan Thibault talked about that I found so relevant right now is research funding. I love that she addressed this in a non-political matter, just giving some facts, and I wanted to relate some of the ones that she put out there. And that is that 7,840 grants were terminated in 2025 across the NIH and NSF. Those are the grants that are coming from a lot of US funding. And the point here is that scientific research is really struggling. There were 370 plus peer review meetings that were canceled, which led to a huge slowdown. And all of my colleagues that were at the Voice Foundation had been experiencing this when they were usually approved for things back in February. Some had just happened actually while we were at the Voice Foundation. That's a long time for a big lab that is employing many people to go without the normal funding. And it made it slowed or delayed for over 24,000 grant applications. That's huge. Overall, there was a 54% decrease in funded grants from the NIH. And also there were some major shifts in the centralized peer review system. It made it more difficult in some cases for certain grants to be heard, especially in vocal research. So I think it's important that we take this into account and support science where we can right now. I also loved hearing multiple talks about women's hormones and how they affect the voice. I think more and more people are beginning to realize that the female hormones are constantly shifting, and menstruation and menopause, these things make a huge difference in females' voices. It's starting to suggest that maybe we need to take a closer lens when we're prescribing certain therapies and consider the individual a little bit more, because certain times of the month or the cycle, there are going to be people who menstruate who have a different reaction to something than you might expect of somebody who doesn't menstruate. I also got to attend a workshop by the author of The Vocal Athlete. This is Wendy Laborgne, and The Vocal Athlete is a text that I love, that I think is applicable to all genres of singing. Most vocal pedagogy texts, I think, lean towards one style of singing or another. And this one is extraordinary in that it's a lot more about being in your body and using it to the best extent to support your voice. It also addresses your mind and mindfulness. I think it's an extraordinary text, and getting to see Wendy present gave me a lot more perspective on her, and honestly just made me love her work even more. There was also a hilarious presentation by Brian Gill, and I think Johan Sundberg was on there too. They studied difficult singers' vowels. I found this so interesting. It was more in a clean singing perspective. I'd love to see the same study done with people who are scream singing. But it was interesting because there are so many claims about which vowels are the most difficult for singers, but there's a lot of individual variation. And that was the result of their study, basically saying, okay, yes, E and U are very difficult for some people, but also A, and also E and O. Like, all of these vowels are difficult in different circumstances and for different people. I appreciated that a lot. That study, they didn't take themselves too seriously, even though they're giants in the field. And they were addressing something that there's lots of, I think, common fallacies about, and also saying, hey, let's individualize our approach to people just a little bit more. One of the huge themes throughout the conference was AI, of course, and how people are using AI. In particular, there was a lot of focus on when AI is being used to diagnose a voice disorder. AI can be surprisingly accurate up to a certain point. And the thing is, I think it seems like people are interested in the fact that it can diagnose, and that might be helpful. It can be used in screening perhaps. But when it misses something, that can be really dangerous. And definitely when we're talking about helping somebody recover from some sort of vocal injury, the AI wasn't necessarily giving the best advice, as you might suspect. So there's a lot of talk about how AI can be used, especially within that, I would say, the clinical area. And certainly people are using it to analyze data and bring up lots of different data sets, look at it from different directions. That's a really cool usage. But one of the big focuses is essentially if an AI could replace a speech pathologist. And I think the answer right now is no, but it could be used in several ways to assist one and allow for more time to focus on other things that the AI for certain would not be able to do. There were tons of presentations about SOVTEs, semi-occluded vocal tract exercises. We've seen ever since Dr. Ingo Tietze did some groundbreaking work in this area that SOVTEs are very, very beneficial across the board for singers. Brad Story, who's another researcher we're working with, also has done research in this area. And I actually saw some fantastic evidence showing that in certain situations, like in a more narrow situation, that it might not be as beneficial. That was presented by a colleague that we're also working with, Matthias Ahn, A-A-E-N. And it was talking about sort of poofing out is the way I would describe it, the upper laryngeal tract in one spot. Now it was a smaller study. So obviously we need some more research done. But one of the things that I was discussing with him afterwards is this idea that we really need to assign the SOVT exercise according, again, to the individual, because certain ones will affect the vocal tract in other ways. If you do a raspberry, we get more tongue root and jaw relaxation. If we're doing a lip trill, we're able to form more vowel shapes behind. And honestly, if I compare the two, I can feel in a raspberry that this space shuts down more for me. And if I'm doing a lip trill, it's more open. And so if I'm trying to create less upper pharyngeal space, which is very important for certain metal screams, and also it's very important for me with some of my opera singing, because I was over spacing that area for a while. If we're gonna create more space there with our lip trill, that's not necessarily the best training for certain individuals. I was fascinated to see this presentation because it was essentially recommending more guidance in the SOVTE area than I'd seen before. And I think it was very persuasive and made me think, okay, I should dig a lot deeper into which SOVTEs are most appropriate for metal and rock singers in particular. And consider, we've looked at them for screams and distortion, and consider, maybe in certain circumstances, now I understand that they wouldn't work well. Like, I don't think it would be a good idea to do an SOVT along with a tea kettle scream. I think that those two things would essentially contradict each other unless you're using the tea kettle scream as an SOVTE, which is in part what Sarah Kervin discussed in our workshop. So now we're gonna move on to a couple of big takeaways. Big takeaway number one, we need to become more and more individualized in our approach with singers and, of course, therapy. We can't have AI giving a broad recommendation. That's not suitable for many people. Our lives are very complicated and people have different habits that could make one therapy useful for one person and not for another person. And speaking with a doctor or a vocal coach that knows your whole history will be able to help you identify a particular therapy if that's what you need. And I just don't think the AI is there. So individualized also in the matter of what an individual's voice goals are. There was a lot of discussion about therapy for trans people as well. And then you think about women, there's a lot of hormonal therapies that can complicate certain situations. And it's more about the goal of the individual and where they want to get rather than this broad idea of everyone wants this from their voice. So I appreciate that in general, we're becoming more and more individual with voice treatment of all kinds. Another big overarching theme was this idea that research is actually very, very hard to conduct right now, and it's very expensive. It takes a ton of time, and you have a culture, like especially on YouTube, where things are moving faster and faster and faster. We want things to happen instantly. I especially want things to happen really quickly with my channel, right? But research can take a very long time. 5 years is the normal increment that many researchers work in. And when we have problems with funding not coming through or expected payment for funding that was already granted not coming through, it just makes everything become more and more elongated, and we're used to having answers to our questions right away today. People are not very understanding of these conflicting timelines. So I want to figure out how to present those ideas better to our community, because I think that our community is very good at disseminating knowledge. And I'd like for us to support researchers with a little more patience, but maybe at the same time, figure out how we can disseminate knowledge of research that's being done. I think there's two things we can really do there besides just supporting the researchers. Another big takeaway for me is I get so exhausted at conferences that are this packed. I get so excited about so many different things. I think the next time I go to a conference like this, I'm gonna go to maybe 2 talks and then run away to a quiet room and write down some notes, because there's so much that I want to think about and hash out, and my brain just turned to mush. So I'm gonna set some goals for me for the next time I go to a conference about maybe journaling to help further ingrain some of this knowledge rather than just trying to continually take in new knowledge. Even though that means I might miss some things, I'd rather make sure that I ingrain the things that I have learned, which is actually partly why I'm doing this video. Finally, 4th big takeaway, there's so much enthusiasm about the research we're doing. We are definitely going to be back at the Voice Foundation. I don't know if it's gonna be next year or the year after. I had multiple people ask me about future talks. I'm very excited about that. Obviously, Amanda, Getty, and Sarah are very eager to do some future talks as well. I met one of my colleagues from Oberlin when I was at my undergrad there. Mark and I are gonna chat, I think, maybe about something. He's also been doing some fantastic research. It's just, I love it. And we were talking about applications to the classical voice, so I can't wait to delve into that a little bit more and hopefully present on that sometime in the future. But we'll definitely be back. And I invite you, if you are a total vocal nerd, if you're working in the voice science field in any way or in vocal pedagogy, please consider coming to the Voice Foundation. I would love to meet you. I would love to go with you around all of the vendors in the break room. That was amazing. I didn't even talk about that. I was just thinking about the talks, but the vendors in the voice room, there was this amazing breath tool. I got a few of them. I'm going to post some videos about it. There were also some amazing resources just for teaching about vocal anatomy. There was even a scope demonstration, tons of books. I would love to walk with you through the voice break room and talk about how we can use these tools to spread good information about voice everywhere. I think this is a great place for all kinds of people to come. That's my big takeaway for number 4. I invite you to come and join me in the future. I don't know when we'll be back, which year, but it will not be too far away. That's a very quick summary. I know I've missed tons of things. Thank you to the organizers. Thank you to my co-presenters. Thank you to all of my colleagues who presented. Your incredible ideas are so inspiring. And big thank you to Kirk and Gina and Mycroft and Kaladin, they were all there as well. It was some very, very long days and nights for all of us. Thank you to our patrons who support us endlessly. And thank you to everyone that funded our Kickstarter that made this research possible. May you all fall more, I can get this sign off correct. I can do it. I'm so tired still. May you all fall more in love with music every day.